Yeah, but sure as hell, I let him know I don't let vampires or any other demons suck on me. And if I was ever going to let anyone do it, it would be you. Frank. So why is he so territorial? You ignorant man. It has nothing to do with being territorial. He yelled through the door. He wants your blood because he knows you're mine. He wants to hurt me, and he knows, just as everyone does, because you parade your march for... Listen! I cut him off. You're the one who put all this crap on my skin. You should just make them... They will disappear if you simply Knock it off! I snapped. I was getting irritated. We both know you don't want... You know nothing. I've told you 1,000 times, perhaps more. If you would only submit to me, then those marks you carry would vanish and move to your eyes. But you will never know the truth of my words if you do not come to my bed. You just yelled the word bed in my hallway? I chuckled because, really, the whole thing was ridiculous. Open the door now, he demanded, and from the sound, I could tell he was talking through clenched teeth. Just stop, I exhaled sharply. I'm too tired to fight with you tonight. I have an early flight and I'm beat. I'll see you when I get back. I want to see for myself that you are well and whole. Sometimes when I was vulnerable from being hurt, it was hard to spar with him. I wanted to surrender instead. But there were two things wrong with that scenario. First, I was a little bit more into being made to do something than I had ever let on. And second, I knew better, because I had seen the real Kale once upon a time. His words were one thing, his actions an entire other volume. Please, Kale. I was weary and achy. I'll see you when I get back. He growled and hit the door, but afterward there was only silence for at least another minute. So I figured he had left. I walked to my window and looked out to see the vintage motorcycle parked in front of my building. It was a 1976 Harley-Davidson Electra Glide, and really, it was a thing of beauty. Of course, it paled beside the man who threw a long, muscular leg over the seat to straddle it. Kale, my boss for the last 3 years, was hands down the most beautiful creature I had ever seen in my life. The thick, white blonde hair that fell well past his shoulders was normally pulled back from his face in a queue, the better to show off the dark blue eyes. Sometimes the sapphire color was all people saw. The first time I had seen him, my gaze had taken him all in. The long, straight nose, chiseled cheekbones, square jaw, and pale, flawless skin. His eyebrows were thick swipes of painter's brush, and his lips, full and dark, made me shiver. When his eyes had met mine, I had nearly swallowed my tongue in anticipation. We were both standing at a bar close to Melrose, waiting to order drinks, and I had opened my mouth to say hello. But his expression had changed instantly, and I was faced with startled disgust. It was sharply evident, and I had pivoted and walked away. Even if bears weren't his thing, he had no right to sneer at me like I was revolting. I wanted to not care, but my eyes kept following him with slave-like devotion. I stared at him from across the club, keeping my distance, watching as he rejected hot young twinks, perfectly sculpted gym bunnies, and every other stud that cruised by him. I had no idea the model of beauty he was seeking, but it was interesting that I danced more than he did. My weight had never been a detriment socially. I knew I had a lot to offer friendship-wise, personality-wise, and I actually knew what I was doing in bed. Yes, I kept the lights off, and some guys I'd been with complained. They wanted to see me, but I wasn't comfortable even in candlelight. In darkness, I was a sex god. And I was not a tease. I put out. My last serious boyfriend, Doug Green, had loved that I was a pushy bottom and said that spanking my ass was one of the great joys of his life. I had kept the man laughing almost constantly, but also, because he was a journalist and well-read on a whole variety of subjects, I had made a point to challenge his intellect and keep him on his toes. We could talk for hours, and that, too, was a source of happiness for him. But when he got reassigned to Paris, asking me to go with him apparently never even crossed his mind. He didn't think we were serious enough for me to cross the Atlantic with him. I was ready. He wasn't. When I saw a picture of him and his new boyfriend on Facebook, I understood that while the inside of me was fantastic, it was the outside packaging that didn't work for Doug long-term. The new man was stunning. He was an actor with many suntan oil commercials to his credit. But it was okay. He had taught me that when I found the guy, the one, I could be brave and jump in. The problem was that after Doug, I had decided that I really didn't want to compromise anymore. I couldn't pick up a guy, take him home, throw him down on my bed, and pretend that I didn't want to be the one being held down instead. No one considered me with my height and weight and build and thought, I bet he wants to be manhandled. It was the twinks, the guys who resembled Abercrombie and Fitch models, that other men drooled over and thought about doing bad things to. Everyone assumed I was a top. I was too big and snarly to be anything else. Normally, the pretty boys were the ones coming around me wanting to get pounded, and I was after the guys cruising them. It was a mess, and I was tired of trying. So the fact that my being big had so repelled the stunning man I tried to speak to was not a surprise. There was a definite type that appreciated the way I was built. I had no doubt that the guy for me would actually enjoy love handles as much as he would value my protective, nurturing nature and brown eyes. And even though I wished the gorgeous man with the rippling muscles had a soft spot for burly bears, it wasn't enough to ruin my evening. By the time I was ready to call it a night, I was over being rebuffed. What came as a surprise was that when I was on my way out, the guy who had blown me off came after me. "Are you Frank Oregon?" he inquired, hand on my bicep. "Yeah. You work for Balaam, right?" Oh, this was why I was suddenly good enough to talk to. Of course, everything became clear. I eased my one arm free, crossed both over my chest, and then ordered him to show me his eyes. It was what you did with demons. The midnight blue quickly changed, and I was shown hot, bright, burning yellow. It was the mark of the snake on every fallen being, and was not a color you ever forgot once you saw it. Any demon playing around outside the plains of hell had the gold snake eyes. And though the first time I had been surprised, I had seen too many to startle at that point. "What kind of demon are you?" "Incubus," he answered, his eyes searching mine. "Okay," I said, running a hand through my short brown hair. "So, what do you need?" His perfectly shaped dark blonde brows furrowed. "You don't belong to Bellum? You can do other jobs?" "I'm a freelance courier," I answered. At least I understood the interest. The man with the hard, toned chest, rippling abs, and long, thick, muscular legs had no interest in me sexually. He just needed something picked up or dropped off. Demons didn't trust other demons to come and go from their homes, haunts, or places of business, so they used regular people, semi-regular, to do that kind of work for them. I had first been introduced to the whole paranormal wonderland when I went to a house party with a new friend from school. I had just finished serving 8 years in the Marine Corps, leaving with the rank of gunnery sergeant, not wanting to stay in any longer, and was ready to start the rest of my life. I had been honorably discharged and started college that fall. I had planned to be a psychologist, even though I was just starting at 26. When a few of the guys from class had reached out to me, one in particular, Reggie, and invited me downtown to the warehouse district for a rave, I had agreed to tag along. After we were there, maybe a half an hour, after the cocktails were passed out and the pharmaceuticals consumed, I realized from the fangs everywhere that I was actually at a bloodletting party. All the humans were allowing vamps to have their way with them. I was not into the whole hold me down and fuck me while you bite me scene, so I had excused myself and walked back to the door. Everyone knew that vampires and shapeshifters existed. They had come out to the world years before I was born. Seeing them up close, even though I didn't have a lot of first-hand experience with them, was not alarming. It was the orgy atmosphere that was bothering me. I was not an exhibitionist. It was not within my comfort zone, and so being there, watching people screw in front of everyone, on display, was just not my idea of fun. When I decided to bail, there were, of course, some vampires that didn't like the idea of that. But I was an ex-Marine, for Christ's sakes, so they were not going to keep me there. Regardless of how glamorous Hollywood made it out to be in movies or on TV, in real life, whatever stage of life you were in when you got made into a vampire or brought over was how you remained. So even with heightened vamp strength and senses, a changed lawyer or a gardener or an accountant was still no match for a trained Marine. Vampires were strong and fast, but I moved to the exit at my leisure. No one was keeping me anywhere against my will. It was fast, some grappling, some quick self-defense moves thrown in, and the final vampire between me and the door I put face first on the ground. As I reached for the metal bar to slide the warehouse door open, a man stepped in front of me. He was tall, dark, and handsome. His Italian suit fit well, and his smirk was a little sinister. I kind of liked that. A hint of danger in a guy was fine by me. "Excuse me," I said as I tried to maneuver around him. His brows furrowed. I crossed my arms and waited. After a moment, I realized he was surprised. "What?" "I tried to glamour you." "Huh?" I shrugged. "How'd that work out?" "Not well, I don't think. Did you feel anything at all?" I took inventory of my mental faculties. "Nope." "Remarkable," he said, moving closer. It was hysterical that he was standing there in front of me as if I were a significant point of interest in the den of iniquity. There were people humping and grinding and vampires sucking all around us. It smelled like sex and pot, and with the copper scent of blood thrown in, it was making me a little nauseous. But he was observing me and nothing else. "Are you a Myrrh?" "What is that?" "A kind of human who is not susceptible to any sort of glamour," he explained with a smirk. "I have no idea," I answered. It was not a question that had ever been posed to me in my life. "Have you ever had magic cast on you?" "Not that I know of," I assured him. "Can we talk outside? Because, seriously, I'm going to puke." He stepped sideways, and I opened the door and we moved outside into the chilled night air to stand in the packed parking lot under some old fluorescent lights. "Okay." I inhaled deeply. "Better. And now go ahead. I'm listening." His scowl was dark. "You're not afraid of me?" "No, why? Should I be?" "No." He shook his head. "But do you know if you can be spellbound?" "I could by a hot man." "Not sure, but I doubt anyone has ever tried." He studied my face. "I get no sense of you at all, so I suspect that you're a Myrrh." "Okay. But you're not a courier?" "No, sir. I'm not a courier or a mirror or anything else." "Myrrh. There's an H in it," he explained. "It sounds like you're saying the same word." The way his face lit up, you would have thought I had just presented him with a check for $1 million or something. "You are human, aren't you?" I smirked at him. "Last time I checked. You can't tell?" "As I said, I sense nothing at all. It's why the inquiry." "Well, I am human, I promise you. I bleed red." He was excited. "I don't need the blood. I need some papers delivered. Could I hire you to do that for me?" "I just let you know I wasn't a courier." "But you could be. You could be mine. It's so seldom any of us in the community come across a Myrrh." "I don't think you've got the right guy," I said, ready to leave. He stepped back around in front of me. "Oh, I think I do." "Let me get this straight. You want to hire me to deliver something for you?" "Yes." "Is it illegal?" "No. Just a property contract going to a vampire." "That's it?" "That's it." "You're sure?" "Oh, yes." He nodded. "You can read through it before it goes into the envelope if you prefer. Very standard stuff. But why do you need me to do it?" He made a face. "It's problematic for different paranormal species to allow another kind anywhere near them, and especially not in